Hi, thanks for coming back. Why not just give this video a thumbs up, like and subscribe first off. Just turn that phone the other way. You know what you've got to do. And so this is my third video. If I knew how to do iCard things, I've no clue. So I'm just filming these on my laptop in my bedroom with the curtain open, so there's a bit of light. Hopefully it's not too horrendous. So we've left off at that I was actually diagnosed with ADHD as well. And I knew, as pardon me, I just had a drink of water. So I knew as I had family members say, oh my gosh, you're exactly like how your daughter is, and all growing up exactly the same. But personally, I actually thought that I was worse because just because of how my family was, and it was late 70s, early 80s, and I had been taken to a child psychologist twice and basically was diagnosed. I don't even know what I was diagnosed. Nothing was said. Oh, I was so jealous of my next sister being born. I used to pull my hair out, wrap it around my fingers and suck my fingers. And I still struggle with pulling my hair out. I think that's more of a habit, an anxiety thing, but it's actually called something, track something, big long name. Actually very common, very, very common in ADHD and basically on the spectrum children. I've worked, as I said in previous videos, I've worked for over 20 plus years with as a teacher's aide and in various organisations and have worked with children with special needs or on the spectrum. And I've worked with children that have pulled out eyelashes, eyebrows, hair. Very common, very, very common. So I can see that the hair pulling and the sucking of fingers, it is very, very common in ADHD kids, very common. But yeah, so no diagnosis, just nervous, but now that's not nervous, it's anxiety. And it runs through my family quite horrifically. Very, very, very lots of anxiety, debilitating anxiety actually. And that's what I had, debilitating anxiety. So I actually think that I was a lot worse than my child because myself and my partner know how to cope. We actually, in a previous video I didn't say, we actually use 1, 2, 3 magic. And I know that that's sort of talked about a lot in psychologists and doctors and, all the triple P parenting. But for us, 1, 2, 3 magic, we both use it. My partner's better at using it than me because it takes out all of this. So it's just like 1, 2, 3 time out, but you don't talk. You just say 1, 2, 3. That's it. And so I only have to get to 2 with my child with ADHD. With my child that is borderline, which I haven't really spoken about yet, I only have to say 1. And I really don't even have to say 1. So with myself being diagnosed, as I said, I recognised that I was much worse than what my child was in reflecting in my life. But home life was completely different to what my children have. We all try and do better, don't we? So for me, what happened was I was a stay-at-home mum. I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mum because my mum was a stay-at-home mum. And her mum wasn't, which is quite unusual for back then. I don't even know when that would have been, 30s or 50s. Not good with maths. Anyway, my grandmother was not a stay-at-home mum, but my mum was. And I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mum. And so we struggled for a very long time financially because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mum. Looking back, I'm glad that I was. I'm absolutely glad that I was. I did get a little bit of casual teacher's aid work, but it was minimal, very minimal. And when we actually moved, we live on New South Wales Queensland border, so which is just stunning. And I started studying. I started studying at TAFE. So and I started studying, what was it? Certificate 4 in community services, and I learnt so much about myself, so much. I could not pay attention, and when I look back all through high school, I did not cope. I didn't cope. I didn't get out of bed. I now see that as depression, which is very common for undiagnosed ADHD teenagers. Very common. So is self-harm, whether that be hurting your body by cutting or eating too much, which is what I did, which is very common in undiagnosed ADHD girls as teens, overeating, because we need that stimulation. We need our hands to be doing things. So is smoking, and so is alcohol and drug taking, because it's the impulsiveness. Someone would only have to say, why don't you? And before they'd even finished what they were saying, I was doing it. And my daughter is the same. But with medication, that sort of dampens it. Doesn't get rid of it, doesn't get rid of the impulsiveness, dampens it. So I really struggled through high school. I think more than most kids. Didn't get out of bed, pretend I'd go to school and be hiding under my bed, would sneak back in. Oh, this is terrible, I'm saying all this, but would sneak back in through the bathroom window at home and hide under my bed with the door locked, and my grandparents had keys and they'd come around and say, bang, 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 I know you're in there, I know you're in there. And I'd wait hours until they'd go, and then I'd sneak out. I was always sneaking food, even from a kid. So it happens in my house. I'm like, oh, well, I sneak food. But I don't actually do that. I would go off. So let's get back on track. So I was studying at TAFE, and I was learning a lot about myself. And then I went from the Certificate 4 to the diploma, and now I got kicked out in high school. I had too many days off, but I'm actually quite an intelligent person, but my whole life I was led to believe that I was not. I was told constantly not very nice things about myself, and so as a child I started believing those things. So they are still all in my head. So that's why when I started studying at TAFE, I learnt that what was in my head was called negative self-talk. I'm going to say it again. Negative self-talk. Those little things when you're by yourself that go around in my head. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. Oh my gosh, I've said that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. So there are ways to actually get rid of negative self-talk, whether you see a big red stop sign, put what you've said on a little boat and let it float away down the river. There's lots on negative self-talk on the internet and how to stop that. Speaking with a professional, as I said in the last video, has helped me greatly, not only as a person, but as a partner and as a mother, but more so just as a human being. And I've stopped generational things that have been going on in my family. I've completely stopped. So what happened was in TAFE, I kept learning. As I said, I learned what was going on in my head is called negative self-talk. I learned that not being in control of your emotions is not okay, and you cannot tell your child to stop, especially your ADHD child. You cannot tell your ADHD child to calm down, go to sleep, stop acting like that if you are out of control with your emotions. They are not going to listen. You're not even listening to yourself. Your child's not going to want to. If someone was in the street and they were carrying on, you wouldn't go up to them and try and cuddle them. No, you'd walk on the opposite side of the road. So we need to get our emotions under check to be able to deal with the behaviours that we have to deal with from our ADHD child. So the more I studied, then I went from Certificate 4 to the diploma, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. But I really struggled. It might not have looked like I struggled, but I really, really struggled. I cried every Thursday when it was counselling, every Thursday. And when we had to do mock interviews in front of the class, and I'm talking about a class of maybe 10 people, and I was the counsellor with my my person sitting there, I would be the one crying. So how can I possibly be working with families if I haven't got my life, my out of control, whatever, under control? I'm crying my eyes out, and I'm supposed to be the counsellor. So a beautiful teacher, beautiful, beautiful teacher. I don't think I should say her name, but an amazing teacher. And this woman I just took as my mentor, and I see her every now and again and give her a big cuddle and tell her how much she meant to me. She literally was, I'm going to get upset. She was the first person that basically believed in me and said that just keep going, don't give up, just keep going. And she believed in me, and she just academically, I don't even know what it was, but I do remember her saying positive things about me, and I couldn't handle that, and I would start crying because no one had ever really said anything positive to me when it came to anything really. So obviously I've struggled with that my whole life, and speaking with a professional just really has changed my life. And studying has just changed my life. I would not, and I started studying, oh, hang on, how old was I? Was I 40? I started studying 5 years ago, and I'm about to turn 44. So I started studying at 38, 39, after being kicked out of year 10 because I had 69 days off that year. So I had never done an essay. I'd never written an essay. I was so far behind everybody else, but I read every night. And yeah, so I really thought that I couldn't. How could I go to TAFE? I didn't even finish high school. So from Certificate 4 to the diploma, and then a friend of mine, shout out to Kim, said, come on, let's do uni. Let's go to uni. Let's go together. And I really struggled. I really, really struggled. I had my partner saying, well, we just need to get a job. How are we going to buy a house, which we've wanted to do for forever. And so I started uni. So this girl I'm only doing 1 unit per semester. So it's basically going to be about 8 years or whatever at uni. But that's enough for me. I'm not in any rush. I don't need a high-paying, fandangled job. I work part-time. I earn enough money to feed and clothe us, and do little special things every now and again. I feel like I'm a little bit ready now to start working with families. So whether I follow my ADHD dream and become a speaker or an advocate or mentor. I've got business cards just done. They're not very good. But backtracking, this wonderful, beautiful teacher mentor took me aside and said, look, I actually think that speaking with a professional is just going to benefit you so much. I really do. It's just going to give you so much more clarity, and you will be much more professional if you have your own life sorted. Because as I said, there's no point me being a counsellor or working with families if I'm going to be triggered from what I've been through during my growing up and adult life. So speaking with a professional, she said, this guy is really great. go and speak to him. So made an appointment, had to wait a long time, but I thought I've already waited 40 something years. So I went and spoke with him, and it's not all about rehashing past and stuff like that. It's all about learning, getting it out, but learning strategies and coping, how to cope in life, and putting things in place so things can change, because as I've said, nothing will change if nothing changes. And that's so true. Nothing changes if nothing changes. I don't know why it took me that long, but it did. So I started saying to this guy, look, and I would talk about all the struggles with ADHD at home and all of that. And I'd mentioned a few times, oh my gosh, I'm sure I've got it. I was way worse than she was as a kid, blah, blah, blah. And so then I finally thought, you know what, I'm going to ask to be assessed twice. So obviously the first time, and it's a standardized test that doctors and professionals have, and I scored 90-something%. So then the next time I went, or the time after that, I asked to be assessed again, and it was the same, 90-something%. And he could turn, he said, look, by speaking to you, and you guys would notice that I just jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, never really finish what I want to say, and just continually move, a bit like my child going from one thing, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. It's the same. So, yeah, so I did another test, and then scored 90-something% again. So that was the second time. And then from there, he just said, look, I really, the scores that you're getting, you definitely have, and it's graded. The ADHD as an adult is graded, and mine was very high, very, very high. And I'd been doing my own research as well, and through watching the videos of Professor Russell Barkley on YouTube, and I just identified with every age level, as a kid, and then as a teenager, and then in your 20s and 30s. And as I said, he's researched 40 odd years, so he's got a big lot of people to research with and to come up with the data. So every age group, as I said, kids, teens, 20s and 30s, I recognized myself in every single age bracket, being an undiagnosed ADHD female. And I'm not going to go into that now, because it actually does get quite deep and heavy. But feel free, if I knew how to link, I would, but I've got no clue. So just Russell Barkley, ADHD, and it will come up. But I identified with every single thing that was written up on that board, every single thing. And so my psychologist would say, oh yes, I do a flip from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and huge negative self-talk, huge. 40 odd years of negative self-talk is not good. So then from there, because psychologists are talking, psychiatrists are the diagnosers. So I had to then make an appointment with a psychiatrist. And I remember even now just saying it, I'm like, oh, only cuckoo people go that. No. And basically I went in, and my psychologist had passed all the things over to the psychiatrist. So he had all my info, and he just said, look, yes, let's do another test. But you got to pick them. You got to make sure you pick a psychiatrist that believes in ADHD first, would be a good one. I think the one that I saw perhaps didn't, and saw me as a bit of a junkie. Even obviously I'm not. And sort of a few little things that were said, I thought, you might be a little jaded. So, but anyway, he just said, oh, look, it's not in my hands to see if you want medication. And I said, actually, I would like to trial. I said, because I can see the benefits for my child. I want to see what it's like now that I was at uni. And so I started on, I think it was Ritalin as well, actually. No, was it? I can't. Yes, it was. It was Ritalin. So I started on that, and then straight away. And I was with a girlfriend, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to take it, and we'll go out and have a cuppa, and you can tell me, if I'm any different and stuff like that." And the moment I took it, I'd say within like 15, 20 minutes, no, not even that long, I really felt just such clarity, like just clarity. And I don't even really know what clarity, just clear. All the chitty chatty noises, I don't know if they stopped, but they were like diminished. They were less. And I could concentrate. And my mouth was very dry, very, very dry. I remember I just drank so much water. But I felt calmer, and I just remember thinking just all that noise had stopped, and it wasn't like I didn't hear voices or anything like that, but just overthinking things, and would have 10 million things going through my brain at once. And there's so much fluff on this. Look, that's what's been annoying me. So there you go, prime example, ADHD, talking about 10 million things at once. And so for me, I don't take, so that was, I think, the beginning of my first year at uni, second year, I can't quite remember. But I just remember that I was really struggling to do assignments. I would always get extensions. I had to go to like learning support at uni, and I would cry through every single one. And they would go for, say, half an hour, 45 minutes or something. And I would cry. And I remember some of them wouldn't even acknowledge that I was crying. So then, my psychologist would say, okay, well, you need to say, look, I'm crying, I'm emotional, because I have a thing with teachers, like, obviously. So, and that's why I was getting emotional, was because if anyone's saying, oh, I'm doing that wrong, or you're not doing it right, then it just makes me cry. So I would say that, and I'd see all these teenagers, and they'd look, and I'd think, oh God. But anyway, so I am still at uni. I go through periods of taking them. I'm now on Ritalin LA, which is the long acting Ritalin, which lasts, I think in me it lasts about 8 hours. And I can study, like I can actually be at home and study. Obviously not when the kids are on school holidays, because it just does not happen, unless I just let them be on their laptops and devices the whole day, which I don't like doing, but some days you just got to. And I think we've just got to accept, this is my beautiful friend Claire said, that we just have to accept that we didn't have laptops and computers and all of that. If you're in my generation, we didn't have that, and it's here, and it's staying, and it's not going anywhere. And I think every now and again to just, but we have to monitor ADHD kids. If they are looking at porn, if you think they're not, and you say, oh, I trust my child, believe you me, they are. If they're little and they type up bum, you don't want to know what comes up. You do not want to know. It's horrendous. So you either have to put the lock thing on, but then they can't get on YouTube and they can't get on Instagram, or you just have to constantly talk, constantly monitor, have every password, which I do. I have passwords. I log in. I can't stand what they write in private messages. It's just horrendous. And I say, if I see that, and also you've got to talk about pornography too, because seeing things, it's not real. Fisting is not real. So we need to talk about these things, but we're keeping this G, and it's not good. So we need to monitor. You cannot just say, trust my child, because it's not. They are looking. Believe you me, they are looking. It is everywhere, everywhere. It's even on YouTube. It's there. It's just in cartoon form. It's there. I've seen it. So where am I up to? Thumbs up for forgetting. And anyway, but oh my gosh, what a brain fart. Was I talking about myself? So anyway, yes, that's what I was saying. Medication for myself when I am at uni, I just take it every day. I take it every day. Some weekends, yes, some weekends, no. And you know what? I do not have any come down. I don't feel like I'm addicted to it. So also, I have been interviewed by, so on my ADHD journey, yes, I take medication. I actually took it today. Can you tell? No. Still all over the place. But I decided that I wanted to start up my own ADHD support group because there wasn't one that I was aware of where I lived. And I've since found out that there's not even any on the Gold Coast, or maybe there is, but it's not solely ADHD. A lot of ADHD support groups also it's more autism spectrum and ADHD. So I feel like that there's quite a lot of autism spectrum support groups. I wanted to start one up that was basically solely ADHD and all that goes with it. ODD, anxiety, sensory processing disorder. There's a lot. So I did. I started one up, and I have guest speakers. And I've had one guest speaker so far. I have another guest speaker lined up next month, and the lady is runs an ADHD business and also speaks at conferences. And I think that's where I'd like to head. I think that for me, I would what's the word I'm looking for? I can't believe how long this has gone for. Oh my gosh. I would connect with someone that has actually lived it rather than someone talking about it that hasn't lived ADHD. And so maybe that's where I'm headed. Who knows? So thumbs up for almost half an hour video. I really hope that that you're actually getting something from this. Maybe I need to do more research. A fabulous YouTuber is How to ADHD. She's a young girl. She's not young girl. She's about in her early 20s. Her and her new fiance run a fabulous ADHD channel, How to ADHD, and she is brilliant. She has ADHD. Her partner has been newly diagnosed with ADHD, and so informative and just beautifully done. Editing is gorgeous. Do you like my cupboard backdrops and door? Yeah, so maybe I might hang something there. Who knows? So that is part of my ADHD journey, and I just want to give a shout out to my gorgeous partner. We've been together for 15 years, and I'm sure he has stuff going on. Because it's very hard to parent an ADHD child when you yourself have ADHD, because I'm all over the place and my thing is paper, and I'm not a clean freak by any means. I don't even like I don't know how you can like housework, but I'm known as the one that doesn't really do housework too much. We're not hoarders or anything like that. But I just sort of, papers I can't do, I jam in a drawer. Thumbs up if you jam papers in a drawer. And when you were by yourself, I got the electricity cut off, my car was repossessed, I was so embarrassed, telling the neighbours that my car got stolen when there were repossessors banging on doors. I mean, how ridiculous. You know, my phone would be disconnected because I would just put the papers somewhere or the letters somewhere. And if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. If I do not write something on my hand, regardless if I put it in my phone, yes, I'll get a reminder at 8 o'clock in the morning. But if my appointment is for 11 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I'm not going to remember that appointment that I was shown at 8 o'clock. If it's not written on my hand, it doesn't exist. If I don't see it, it doesn't exist. So thumbs up for jamming paper in drawers and forgetting about it. And look, if you have any questions or if you have any comments on what you would like me to talk about concerning ADHD in Australia, I'll leave it in the comments below and I'll try and answer as many as I can. I'm thinking this might be called Australian ADHD Family. And as I've said in previous posts, that I would also like maybe my child that is diagnosed might come on, but obviously being in high school, just sort of need to be a bit mindful of that, so that might not happen. But my younger daughter might come on and say what it's like to talk about being a sibling of an ADHD. So as I said, thumbs up the video, give it a like and subscribe and share. I think we need to get as many positive ADHD stories out there. ADHD is not or should not be seen as a negative. Think of a lot of actors and performers and Richard Branson, classic ADHD. Lots and lots of, as I said, lots of actors and performers have ADHD. That's how they have their stamina. They're out there. They're, just the out there persona and stuff like that. And their creativity. So maybe we need to do another video on creativity and ADHD. But yeah, so as I said, thumbs up, like the video and subscribe and share. And obviously the more I do these, I think the better they'll get, hopefully. But I'm actually very interested to see down the track how it was with my child at 12 and my thoughts and feelings on this. So hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.